Hey everyone, we have a fantastic guest that's been on before. She's Amy Newmark. She is the best-selling author, editor-in-chief, and publisher of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series. Today we're going to talk about a new one in the series called Listen to Your Dreams. I'm so excited about this one. You know all the shows we've done with Dr. Paul Meyer about dreams, so this is going to be a fantastic show, and thanks for tuning in.
I'm not the house of cards that falls down easily. Oh, I'm strong enough to handle what you throw at me.
Welcome to Mental Health News Radio. I'm your host, Kristin Sunanta Walker. Just what are we going to discuss? The intimacy that is mental health. Let's continue to make it as comfortable as discussing brain health or heart health. This show has been on the air for several years and we have amazing co-hosts. And then we created a network of podcasters on mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com, a place where every possible facet of mental well-being can be talked about openly. My show, after several hundred interviews, the format is this: intimate, deep, funny, touching, sometimes uncomfortable, but always vulnerable conversations with interesting people. The goal is to have you, our listening family, many of you who have become my good friends, feel as though you are listening in on private conversations. Thank you for tuning in and becoming part of this amazing journey with me, and now with our network of podcasters. Just knowing this podcast might be helping any of you realize you are not alone on this journey called being a human being makes doing this podcast worth every second.
After all we promised, we'd be cordial.
Amy, thank you so much for coming back on my show.
Well, thanks for having me. I remember the last time we talked, I thought I had just had a free session with a really great therapist. So I'm happy to be back for my next session.
I know. And just listeners, remember, I'm not a therapist, but I think when you've had a lot of therapy and when you've interviewed over 3,000 people about mental health, many of them therapists, you kind of do start to sound like one. So, but thank you for that. Thank you for that. So Amy, this new book, Listen to Your Dreams, 101 Tales of Inner Guidance, Divine Intervention, and Miraculous Insight. I love this. Who came up with the idea to make a book about this? I mean, I know you've done others about dreams, but what about this specifically spoke to you?
I love the stories we get from people about dreams, and I'm really all about science. And what I think is fascinating about dreams and why I keep making new volumes of dream stories is that I think it's you yourself, mostly your own subconscious telling you what you already know, but we're all so busy during our waking lives, and we're listening to music or talking to people or looking at our phones, or we're driving or cooking or trying to teach children from home, or whatever we're doing. We're too busy to listen to that little voice inside us or those nagging thoughts that come and go so quickly. And so I feel like dreams are when you're asleep and your subconscious can say, hey, you, here's what I've been trying to tell you all day while you've been looking at your phone and doing projects and talking to people. And so I feel like it's so cool that we all have this tool inside us. And so we just have to learn how to listen to those dreams and deliberately use them as the kind of GPS for our lives. So that's why I made this third volume about dreams, because I'm really passionate about how we all have this tool and we better learn how to use it.
It's very true. I've had a wonderful, very, very well-known psychiatrist, Dr. Paul Meyer, on. He and I do shows together often, and he wrote a New York Times bestselling book about dreams. And he has said on many a show, and we've done many shows about dreams, that every character in the dream is you, and that it is trying to tell you something. And since it's psychiatry, he'll sit and examine the dream. And for example, he had a woman come in and she kept dreaming that she was being chased, and then she was encased in ice and she couldn't get out. And there was her stepfather was chasing her. And anyway, the story turned out that she had unearthed yet memories of being abused as a child, and that encasement in ice was her trying to break free of that memory. So it's pretty darn powerful.
Yeah. And so I'm sure that that was kind of stunting her growth,
Yes.
and impairing her life. And when you're holding in an emotion like that and not reacting to it, I think it leads to you holding in all of your emotions. So that was her subconscious saying, look, you got to deal with this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of people who realize in their dreams that there is something that's been holding them back. And then their dream explains to them. Like, we had this one woman named Rebecca in this new Chicken Soup for the Soul book. And she kept having dreams about being on the beach, and this tidal wave was coming at her. And she'd have these dreams over and over again. And it would always be when there was something kind of new or scary or adventurous going on in her life. And she kept having these dreams. And then finally, she realized what her subconscious was telling her, because she realized that that tidal wave never, ever engulfed her in her dreams. She always saw it coming. She was afraid of it, but nothing bad ever came of it.
Right.
And that taught her in her waking life that the next time an adventure came along, or a scary thing at work, or a new challenge for her, that it would never overcome her. And it gave her this new bravery, this new courage and willingness to try new things and face up to her challenges. She just had to interpret that dream. And I thought, wow, that was really life-changing for her.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing too. I mean, you can have dreams also that are premonitions. I many times I've had dreams where it always really related to a new love interest in my life. And I would dream about this person, and I could feel just every emotion that I would end up having while being in a relationship with this, whoever the man was at the time, and what they looked like, everything. And I also would dream about the problems in that relationship. So one of them was he was very withholding. He was actually had been severely abused as a child and had repressed a lot of those memories. And so in my dream, months before I met him, I dreamt that there was something between us that I wasn't going to be able to get past in the relationship. And in the dream, my heart was broken. And you know what? I don't know if I created that to happen, or, we're getting woo-woo here, or if that was a premonition, whatever it all means. That ended up happening about 6 months after that dream. So you never know.
Yeah, we had one woman, she had this dream when she was 12 about this guy. There was some crazy superstition that if you ate a certain thing and jumped up and down and slept with your head on the wrong side of the bed or whatever, that then you would dream about the man you were going to marry. So she did this whole crazy superstitious thing when she was 12, and she dreamt about this man in detail. Like, she saw exactly what he looked like, and she never forgot the dream because it was just so vivid. And then 5 years later, when she was 17, her friend called her, and her friend was going out with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend was in the Navy, and he had a buddy in the Navy, and they wanted the buddy to come with them on the date. So would she join them and have a blind double date?
Yeah.
So she said, okay, I'll do it. So she's 17, so she's still at home, and she's waiting for them at 7:00, and they don't show up, and they don't show up, and they don't show up. And she starts getting really angry. And this is before cell phones, so nobody's telling her what's going on. And then she thought, well, my mom isn't going to even let me go out. Like, it's 10:00 already. I'm 17. She's not going to let me leave now. And I'm mad anyway. And I don't want to go out with this guy. And then they finally knocked on the door at 10. And she opened the door to tell them, I'm not going with you. And there was the guy. It was the exact guy she had seen in her dream when she was 12. And so she went on the date. Actually, it got even worse than that. The guy put out his hand to say, hi, I'm so-and-so. And she said, oh, I already know who you are, and I'm going to marry you. And he was kind of shocked.
Well, and he didn't run. Okay, that's good.
He didn't run. Four months later, they got married. And she's writing this now as a much older person. And there's, I don't know, 20 people who wouldn't have existed if she hadn't had that dream, because, you know, there's like her children and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren, and all of these people wouldn't exist if she hadn't had the dream that caused her to say yes instead of no when her blind date showed up 3 hours late, which is, yeah. And who knows how that happened. Probably she just dreamt about the perfect guy, and then this guy happened to look exactly like the perfect guy in her dreams. But without that dream, she wouldn't have gone out with him.
Right. She probably would have said 3 hours. Can't get out of here, buddy. Well,
Yeah.
I love that you added COVID-19 dreams, because obviously that's what's going on in our lives all over the world right now. I want to get to that, but I want to ask you first, how in the heck do you find so many people? And I mean, for all your books, including this one, what do you do to find these people that have these amazing stories?
Aren't we lucky? It's so
Yeah.
amazing, because I mean, this book, I was just blown away by the variety of the dreams. There's so many different kinds of dreams, and then how powerful they are and how deeply personal they are. So I think that people are basically really nice and really want to help other people. And so they very unselfishly will share these very personal, revealing stories with our readers. And they know when they give us a story, tens of thousands of people will read it, but they actually want to help those people. And also they want to get published, and getting published in Chicken Soup for the Soul is a big deal. It's something that writers of nonfiction really like to have on their resumes. So we've been around for 27 years, so people do know about us, but we get a lot of stories. Most of our stories are from people who are not professional freelance writers, right?
Right.
So we tell people on our website what we're working on. It's at chickensoup.com. And if you go there, you see submit your story, and then we show you all the books we're working on, and we give you guidelines how to write a good story. Although the best way to figure out how to write a good Chicken Soup for the Soul story is just to read any Chicken Soup for the Soul book, and you get a sense of it. We also have a mailing list of everybody we've ever published before, for whom we still have a working email. So that's maybe 7,000 people. So we always send emails to them. And then people, you know, like somebody's heard a story from her friend about a dream. And so she might say to her friend, hey, I heard Chicken Soup for the Soul
is looking.
Yeah. But it's really cool. I mean, I feel like sometimes we're the first people to ever hear about a particular dream. And the writers will say to us, you know, no one in my family knows about this. I'm telling you for anybody. And somehow they feel comfortable revealing that story first to thousands of anonymous strangers. Yeah, exactly.
To your reading audience, exactly.
But it's great. We get thousands of stories submitted for each book, and there's only 101 slots open. And so we really can get the cream of the crop and this great variety. And I love that, because there's every kind of dream in here. There's the dreams about finding love, and the dreams about changing careers. And
you even have dull dreams, which I thought was hilarious.
Dull dreams?
That's chapter 77. I know you've done your fair share of books, so remembering every single thing. But there is
that one.
Yeah, I just thought
the
that was
dull
so
dream.
Funny. I was like, they got it all.
Yeah. She thought her dreams were dull, but actually they were kind of good.
Yeah, exactly. They were. I just love that title, though.
Yeah, but the fact is that we do have a little bit of everything in here. One of the areas that I think is so cool, and I'm sure you've run across this, is when people have a dream about somebody who has passed on, where they have some closure issues or unresolved things they need to deal with. We have so many stories in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Listen to Your Dreams, where somebody is working things out, post-death, and really coming to an understanding with the father who passed, or the brother who passed, or whoever it is. And I think it's so amazing that you can find this healing. And this is legitimate relationship work that's done through the dreams after the fact. So I loved those, because I thought, wow, you could actually kind of say, like, what do I have to work on, and assign yourself tasks to dream about.
You can absolutely do that. That's what's interesting too. Work out a lot of stuff that maybe you would have otherwise spent years in therapy for. And hey, I worked it out last night in my dream.
Yeah, talk to dad. We're all good.
Yeah. And the thing is too, I mean, we're dreaming. Even people that say, well, I just don't dream. Well, you just don't remember your dreams. Everybody dreams. Everybody. And you're dreaming all night long. That's what the experts say that I've interviewed. So I've even interviewed someone who, is a specialist in sleep paralysis and the dreams that can happen from those. That's what made me think of the stories in here about the COVID-19 dreams, because there's, obviously there's so much, unreleased fear because we can't function in your daily life with what's going on and be in this fear. But boy, they're coming out in people's dreams. They're things around COVID. Do you mind sharing a couple of those?
Oh, yeah. And I think that COVID is so important because I don't know about you, but I have been having vivid dreams, mostly disturbing, really interrupting. I don't think I've slept well during this whole COVID thing. And I think that people have been learning a lot from these dreams. So one woman, she's a bookkeeper, and boy, back in March and April, all of her clients, small businesses were just dying. And she found that she was being a counselor to them. I mean, she's working 12 hours a day, killing herself, working for these people. And she finally had a dream in which she was hearing the lyrics to a song, and it was some Katy Perry song. And usually you don't even remember your dreams when you wake up unless you really make an effort, like you identify a couple of keywords and say them out loud, and then that kind of helps you to hook into the dream and not lose it. But she remembered it because of these lyrics. And then she went and she looked it up, and some reference she looked up probably on the internet said, if you dream of a song, the lyrics are telling you what's bothering you. And the lyrics were all about how she was basically not taking care of herself and, was letting herself be, I guess, blown around too much by her clients' concerns. And so she immediately stopped and started to take better care of herself and realized she had to put herself first because she wasn't any good to her clients if she wasn't in good shape herself. But the dream caused a change in her life, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be permanent. Even after COVID, she'll be remembering to put herself ahead of her clients in the future.
Good.
There were a lot of dreams during COVID. Another woman, she kept dreaming about COVID and that she had a temperature of 103.5.
I love that one. Tune in
right?
Your life. Yes.
Yeah, and she didn't have a temperature. I mean, she was fine. So then she got in her car and she thought, well, 103.5, that sounds like a radio station. So she tuned to 103.5 and she happened to catch a talk show about making a change in your career and what you need to do. And that caused her to go ahead and take the courses and take the steps necessary to change her career. And it was all because she kept dreaming about this number, 103.5. And, because it's the time of COVID, she thought it was her temperature, but really it was this wonderful coincidence that led her to the radio station at the exact time when the right host was on this talk show to help her.
Wow. I loved the one about wounded warriors. Will you talk about that one a little bit?
Oh my gosh. The Boat by Kelly Cowell. Okay, so this was really cool. And this is a great example of where a practical person like me thinks that you have had a conversation with somebody during your dream, but your subconscious did both parts. But then if you're more of a woo-woo person, you might believe the other person actually did come to you in the dream. So Kelly she lost her son in Afghanistan, and she was going to grief counseling, and she had PTSD from this. And she was just so shook up that one day she didn't make the right turn to go to grief counseling, and she turned down the wrong road, and she saw a boat on the side of the road, and it had a for sale sign on it. And she turned around and she went to grief counseling. And then she had a dream where her son, her dead son, came to her and told her to buy the boat and use the boat to give boat rides to veterans and wounded warriors and the families of veterans and the families of active soldiers. And she and her son had always loved going out on the water together, you know, whether it was fishing, kayaking, water skiing, anything having to do with water, they did together. So she knew she couldn't afford a boat, but she kept having this dream, and her son kept telling her to get the boat and to do this thing. And she told her mother, and her mother said, go back and look at the boat and call the person. If the boat's not there anymore, then you can drop it. If the boat's there, call the phone number, ask how much the boat costs. So she called the phone number, and she only had $2,500 total available, and the boat was $7,500. So after the person told her the price, she said, thank you, I'm not buying the boat. And then he said, you still haven't told me why. Why are you interested? She said, well, it doesn't matter. I don't have the money. He said, please tell me why. So she told him. He said, I'm a veteran. I will give you the boat for $2,000 because of what you're going to do with it. So she bought the boat, and she started this organization, and it's changed her life. And this is what she does now. She is doing so much good for all the veterans and families and wounded warriors, et cetera, in her community. And she had a really great time talking to her son and feels so much closer to him now.
Yeah, those kind of dreams where you dream about someone that's passed on. I have them about my stepfather. Those are amazing, and I just choose to believe that that's really him that I'm speaking to. So another one that really touched me, I think because I grew up steeped in Jane Goodall stories, was the one called Kathy's Dream. Just so our listeners know, let's talk about that one, because it was an unpaid internship for Jane Goodall in Africa, and there was an interesting twist on that one.
Yeah, so that's one that I cannot explain away with my science approach of your brain generating the dream.
I couldn't either. Yeah.
No, this one definitely goes into the legitimate woo-woo category where I cannot explain this away using science. So in this case, Keisha was writing a book about chimpanzees. So she thought, I'd really like to get to know chimpanzees. And so she applied for this internship with the Jane Goodall Institute. And, you know, those are really hard to get. She got the internship, but she also had a really good job, and she was going to have to quit her job to move to Africa for 6 months. So it was all kind of crazy. 2 weeks before she was supposed to leave, she still hadn't quit her job. She was still torn. And then she went to work, and one of her coworkers said, Keisha, I had the strangest dream about you last night. I dreamt that you were on this yacht and you were running things, and I told you had to come back to work, and you said to me, no, I'm not going back to work because I'm living my truth. Well, that to Keisha was a real eye-opener, and even though it was her coworker who had the dream, it meant to her that it was time for her to quit her job and actually go and take the internship. So she did it, and it changed her life, and she never looked back. And we actually have a picture of her with Jane Goodall in the book trailer that we did for Listen to Your Dreams. You can see it on the chickensoup.com website. And I thought that was amazing. And yeah, I know you're a practical person too, but in this case, how did her coworker have that dream?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the kind of stuff where you go, da, da, na, na. Well, there are so many things, and I love, the back of the book says your dreams are powerful tools for redirecting your life, changing your relationships, and making you a happier person. Absolutely. And sometimes they're very uncomfortable. So it isn't always that the dream is joyous and amazing. The dream can be terrifying. I've had those tidal wave dreams too, but it's what you're motivated to do because of the emotion that you feel in that dream, whether it be joyous or whether it be, pretty scary. So that's why I love this. Listen to your dreams. Yeah, we do need to do that.
It's very useful. I mean, once in a while when I have a really vivid one, I'll quickly tell my husband a couple of keywords from the dream and then quickly relate the dream to him so that I can not lose it. Because if I don't say a couple of words from the dream right when I wake up, it's gone in a second. I know. And I'm like, it's went away in smoke and I'm grasping at it. I can't get it. I know some people leave a pad by the side of the bed and they just jot down a couple of things right away when they wake up. And that way they can grab onto the dream and not lose whatever they were supposed to learn from it.
I now tell Alexa, I have a recording, I don't know what it's called, app on my Amazon Alexa, and I will, because I have to verbalize it. If I go to reach for a pen, even if it's right next to me, it's over. Like a puff of smoke, it's gone. So I have to verbalize it, and I will tell Alexa to record something, and I'll record as much as I can before it's gone. But obviously, I talk for a living. That's my medium. So I can see why that would work for me. But when and where, I know the book is out, but I know how you guys distribute them in different places. They have, they are available at different times. So where can people find this book, Listen to Your Dreams?
Right now, you can find the book at Walmart. It just went on sale at Walmart last week. It's also available at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Amazon. It will be available at Target, but not until November, although it's probably available at target.com prior to that. So it's basically everywhere. And, if you can't find it, we distribute through Simon & Schuster. So any bookstore can get it within 1 or 2 days if you ask them to order it.
I know. And let me tell you, listeners, that she's not kidding. I know you guys are sending them to me so that I, can read them, which I so appreciate before I do an interview. But it's hilarious because I will send my address and the book comes the next day. So that's fantastic.
Yes, it's very easy to get instant gratification with our books because you will get them the very next day. If you order them from Amazon or your local bookstore, if they're getting deliveries every day anyway from their distributor, they'll have it the very next day.
Well, I'm so glad that you wanted to come on and do another interview about this. People know to go to chickensoup.com, but where can they go, Amy, to find out more about you?
Well, I have a website that I never pay any attention to, but somebody pays attention to it for me, and that's amynewmark.com. But here's the coolest thing you could do. You could listen to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast where I share a bunch of the stories from the book. So over the course of August, September, October, I'll be sharing a couple of dozen stories from Listen to Your Dreams. So I do hope that everybody will buy it, but you can also listen to it on the podcast.
Absolutely. Amy, thank you again so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me, and sweet dreams.
Thank you, listeners. That's an order for you too, for tuning into another episode of Mental Health News Radio.
Hi, listeners. I'll make it quick. These are some really cool places that give discounts and other cool things for listeners of Mental Health News Radio Network. If you want to get amazing help with healing from narcissistic abuse, go to healfromanarcissist.com. If you want CBD products that are the best of the best, I use them myself, go to proze.com and use the code mentalhealth20, mentalhealth20. If you want to get daily perk ups that help retrain your brain to think more positively, go to perkupdaily.com. And also, just because this one's fun, snarkycandles.com. I guarantee you'll love them. Snarky with a Y, SNARKY, candles.com. And don't forget, if you want to hear all the shows on the network about first responders, you can go to firstrespondermentalhealthnetwork.com, and all of our shows that focus on narcissistic abuse, narcissistabusehealingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
Sometimes I'm passive aggressive, but never without good intentions. I heat up and act on my emotions.
Thanks so much for listening to Mental Health News Radio. Our podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and hundreds of other podcast apps, or you can visit our website at mentalhealthnewsradio.com. If you have a question or would like to be a guest, become a podcaster on our network, or join the amazing organizations that help keep us on the air, please email us at info@mhnrnetwork.com. Get ready for that special goodbye from our resident therapy dog, Miles, and a special thanks to Emily Sohn for letting us use her incredible song Cordial for our podcast music. Listen to the full song on SoundCloud at emily.sonne.
Don't be surprised when I don't hate on you. After all, we promised we'd be cordial. Sometimes in you I can fight it.
Good boy.